everybody, Redmist back and with another video, this time of the new encounter, patch 3.2, Trial of the Crusader. This is 25-man Lord Jaraxxus. Lots of things to think about in this fight, but it is one of the easier encounters I've ever come across in an expansion patch, ever. So it's pretty straightforward. It does have a few abilities that you need to watch. So here we've got a little tiny gnome, and as people have watched me on my PvP videos, I like to squash gnomes. So we'll go and squash that gnome a little bit later on, or rather I think that Lord Jaraxxus might do that for us. Up there, he's squished the gnome. Lovely. Okay, lots of abilities happen in this fight, and you need to manage it. Keep the melee on the boss, and keep your ranged on the adds. That works very, very well. A couple of mages rotating spell steal is pretty important, and the mages will be able to quickly realise what they're doing, and they can help out tremendously in this fight and do a hell of a lot of DPS. So, start off the fight, the encounter. A couple of things to notice you'll need to manage. The first is Incinerate Flesh. You can see him casting that now on one of our players, Dahl. Now, what happens is that puts a debuff on the player, and you must do, in 25-player version, 60,000 health worth of healing on that player, or it will turn into an AoE debuff which will damage the whole raid and ticks for about 4k every second. So Incinerate Flesh needs to be managed, assign some healers that can put out 60,000 healings worth of heals very quickly on that Incinerate Flesh before it goes off. Okay, it lasts about 12 seconds or until the spell absorbs the healing limit. The adds that get summoned throughout, you can see there one charging around. That's, if you've ever done Black Temple, it's a Sister of Pain, or a Mistress of Pain as it's called now. Reused the model and the idea from Black Temple where they were called Sisters of Pain. You need to manage those, burn them down, kill them. You can see here we've got some Warlocks and Mages and ranged classes burning down that Sister of Flame, whilst we've got all of the melee sitting here on Lord Jaraxxus and burning him down. He does a cast every so often. Now that cast must be interrupted. There it is, it's a Fell Fireball. You'll need to interrupt that. The reason is that it does about 25,000 damage worth of fire damage, and then it adds a tick onto the person that hits. Letting one of those get through if you've got melee on the boss is inexcusable. We don't let a single one through here on this encounter. That was one of my primary jobs here, is interrupting the boss. So you can see Incinerate Flesh casting and so on. Now another thing that he'll do is occasionally you'll see green stuff on the ground, and you'll see some infernals get placed on the ground. And there's a couple of ways that they can appear, but if you've got some Warlocks in your raids, then banish them and DPS them down as you need to. One of the problems with infernals, as you'll see in this encounter, is that they stand still eventually and they have like an AoE explosion, just like back at the Prince in Karazhan when the infernals landed on the ground and you've got an AoE around them. It's just exactly the same here. If one appears where the tank is, then move away, pull the boss away from the area where that tick is going off. It can be interrupted, it's not impossible, and they are relatively easy to burn down if you've got ranged, focused on those infernals. A couple of other things happen in this fight. You can get a burning inferno placed on a player, and that happens if you don't manage the Incinerate Flesh properly, which shouldn't be too much of an issue if you've got the healers assigned to manage things properly. When you see the Nether Portal, which is that sort of big purple thing that summoned the boss, he'll cast mini ones of those around, and that will also be the indication that a new Mistress of Pain is coming in. You saw a volcano appear over there on the left hand side. We've just walked out of view now. Move away from those, easy to manage. He also casts like a chain lightning, random players, and it will jump as well. It's called Fell Lightning, and it's the big green stuff you see flying about between players that get a little bit too close together. Now the boss will buff himself with something called Nether Power. Now I mentioned that you want a couple of mages working a rotation of spell stealing. Now what that nether power does is it stacks on the boss, and he applies it to himself every so often. It stacks up to 10, and it increases magical damage done by 20% per application. If it stacks too high, you'll take too much damage on the tank, which is why you want a couple of mages spell stealing that buff that he places on himself. Obviously what it does is it also drastically increases your mage's DPS output that are doing that spell stealing, which is great news, and it will mean those two mages will enjoy themselves and become top of the DPS charts if you believe in watching those sorts of things. So throughout this fight you can see that we're interrupting all of the casts that the boss does where it's possible, moving the boss away from any infernals that are placing that AoE on the ground. Move out of the green shit. If you see it on the ground, you don't want to be standing in it. That's infernal eruption. It summons an infernal volcano which chucks out the 3 or 4 fell flame infernals that you see flying around. The infernals can be a bit of a pain because they turn into like a big rock ball and fly around the room, but they can be stunned and they can be managed. Just to make sure you've got ranged sitting on those throughout the entire fight, and you'll be able to complete this encounter with 1 or 2 people dead, or none if you're a guild that's practiced at this encounter. This is only the second time we've done this, and it was the first attempt of the evening, and killed in 1 shot. Very straightforward. I think our guild was on a high when we did this encounter, when we came in here, because we'd just come from 25-man Yogg, where we'd got a couple of achievements. First time kill of Yogg on 25 for Orbis Tertius, and we also did it without a single person getting mind controlled, so we were all feeling pretty happy, which meant that the DPS output on this boss was very, very high. And there we go. He's been defeated. Pretty straightforward. Nice and easy. Second boss in this instance. Here's the loot. A few nice items. And a trophy of the Crusade. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it helps your guild out if you're just starting on this encounter, or you want to see what happens throughout. Cheers, everyone. Bye.